Welcome everybody. Glad to see you all here. Cold winter night, so we'll get warm with all the fellowship and happiness that we're sharing here. So we are going to be going through some information on cosmic ancestry, especially the Pleiadeans. And this is a little bit of an outline. You should all have, and in fact you need, a program. Did everybody get one of those programs? Okay. Does everybody not have one? Okay, you'll need one too, Mimi. Okay.
You're so funny.
Okay, so briefly we're going to be doing a little energy work and protection to start with, because that's always a good idea when you're working with these energies. Then we're going to talk just a little bit about Aurora and honor her. I'll talk a little bit about a close experience I had with Arcturians in 1962, and Pam will take over and talk about her close encounter with Pleiadeans in 1962 also. Then we'll talk about the Pleiadeans, and then how we got together and some of the items along our path. And then we'll spend some time with a particular Pleiadian crop circle that Pamela and I and 16 other people co-manifested in England in 2013. And then we'll do some meditation with the music of the Pleiades that has come through Aurora. And that is the point at which you need to have your program, because you're going to sit on it or stand on it or put your feet on it or put it on your lap or something. So be ready for that. And then we'll go into, after the break, we'll talk about the Rexagena story, and you know what that is after we talk about it. And Levi will take over and talk about his wonderful accumulation here of energetic stones. And then we'll, at the end of that, and everybody's going to have a chance to touch and hold one of these, we're going to have an experience with Moldavite. We're going to meditate with some music that came through Aurora that was also Pleiadian. And so we're going to touch a stone, meditate with the music through Aurora. And then if we have any time left, which you probably won't, we'll get into dowsing your cosmic affiliation. So let me see if I can find my way to the music here. And let me see. Yeah, here we go. And this is up. Let's see if we get the volume up back there. Sit erect, feet on the floor. Feel the energy from the earth coming up through the floor, through your feet. Allow it to flow up through your chakra system. Just breathe it in, feel it, let it exhale to the universe, to the center of the universe, where it's received and enhanced, and return back to you, down through your crown, your various chakras, down through your feet down to the center of the earth. Let's do this 3 times and just feel that on your own time. Just breathe it in from the center of the earth, exhale to the center of the universe, turn that around, pull it all the way back down, give it back to Mother Earth. Let's do that 3 times. Sit with that energy for a moment. Okay, those of you that have been here in some of our sessions with Aurora know that she was a beautiful and dear person. Often she sat right here. That was her place. And she had that very beautiful capability of tuning into the energy associated with what we were working with, and typically we would have a few energy essences made from crop circles, and she would create that music. We have 7 volumes of her channeled music. And so we'll be hearing more of those as we go into additional. Okay. So first thing I just want to put out on the table is just a little note. We don't have to say much, but the bottom line is judge not. Why do we say that? Well, nobody knows anything. If you meet anybody who says they do know something, well, they don't. They just think they do. Up until they find something that changes their opinion, and they go deeper and they have a different. So what did they know? Well, they just thought. We're all in that boat. So leave your minds open to whatever the information is that comes through here tonight, and be ready to change your thoughts and opinions with what comes along, and don't lock into it, because it might be different tomorrow. We don't know. So anyway, 1962, I was a counselor at a boys' camp with an Indian theme. I was outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and strange things happened to me at one point, and this is a painting that I did not too long after that encounter. I won't go into much detail with it, but I'll tell you more about it next time when we do a session on the Arcturians. I was told later that it was Arcturians that basically woke me up at that time, told me who I was and why I was here and what I should do. And then unhelpfully erased it all, so I had no memory what it was.
So
Thanks.
they come in that way, all raised.
Yeah. So then the scene switches to actually a little earlier that same summer, that same year, and we didn't know each other, but this dear woman here had the following experience that she'll share with you.
Yeah, this happened in June, the night my sister graduated from high school. So we're figuring his happened in July because he was at camp. And I'm sure what a coincidence that it was a month apart because we seemed to work with a team. But so we're driving home. I was with my mother and father, obviously, and my grandmother was in the back seat with me. And we're coming through our neighborhood. We're just entering. We were kind of country suburban at the time, if that makes any sense. And as we're entering the outskirts of our neighborhood, it was like there was a full moon in the sky. You know, my father was watching it. He was a pilot in World War II, but I was in the back. But it was in the court. You saw this bright thing in the sky, extremely bright. And so we're all eyeballing it, and then we come through the neighborhood, and we're down this street. That's the lower, make a right after that telephone pole and go up my street. So it was right at that, right above that telephone pole, that this craft was about 50, 60 feet up above the pole. So there was no denying that you were seeing something. And as a child, while I was growing up, I always felt beings around me. I used to think it might be my grandmother because she died when my mother was 12, and but they were there. They were always there. I had no idea. I don't think I communed with them. I don't know what. You know, that's all I remember is that I knew they were there. And when I saw this, my first reaction was, "I knew it! I knew you were!" And I was grateful for them showing themselves to me. And I felt a lot of love. And I remember thinking, I'm okay with this. I'm okay. But I don't want to see anybody's face in the window. And, but I was okay. And we went home. I don't remember my parents commenting at that point underneath the telephone pole. But we went home. My father called the airport. Were there any sightings, anything? Because, you know, well, we're sitting there, and it's there for a while. And I mean, you can almost see the texture of the thing. That's how close it was. And then, go on. My father said, I mean, that just blew him away. So that's all we talk about. I mean, the whole night we're talking about that. My grandmother never mentioned it ever. I don't know if she was blocked out, never saw anything. I don't know if she just couldn't take it in, but never mentioned it. My mother went to work that Monday and started talking about it. I mean, it was the first thing out of her mouth. Oh, my word, what do you see? And the vice president of the company actually came up to her and said, "Don't talk about this."
Yeah, right.
We don't talk about this. So that's pretty much where I left it. I just always accepted they were around. I didn't go reading about anything. I didn't research anything at the time until we really met. And then he was reading a book on a plane one day, and Ida Kannenberg was mentioned on the book, and she lived right within miles of where we lived. And she was a fascinating lady. I mean, I think also she has been in touch with a lot of different beings from different places. And even one time traveler from Atlantis, who was her main squeeze, I'd say. And an extremely intelligent woman. Brian was saying tonight they probably loved working with her. She was sharp. So she, in the 40s, she was picked up, and she remembered being taken. She did a lot of research. She did quite a few books. She died when she was well into her 80s. But we went to see her, and we're sitting in her living room, and all of a sudden she says, "Oh, somebody wants to talk to you." We're going, "Oh my word, we're going to be on Galactic TV." So this voice starts coming through, and he says, "I'm not Wise." I don't know who Wise is. First time we ever met her. But Wise was her time traveler from Atlantis, and he's the one who usually came through her. And this person said he was the hidden one. So we never knew where he came from or whatever. But we talked to him for quite a while. I mean, quite a while. At least an hour or so. And he knew a lot of things about us. That how could this woman ever know? Because we had just met her. And at one point, he talked about Brian going and deciding to go into computer science instead of something else. And I was at Apple Computer, which gave me computer skills. And Brian said at one point, "Well, what can we do to help this cause?" And they said, "We need publishers." I became publishers. Okay. Well, on one hand, it felt like that. On the other hand, it just felt right. It just felt right to do that. So
We did ask them, we don't know what to publish.
oh yeah. How will we know where to find it? And they said, "It will come to you." And it always came to us. We would go into meetings and people would walk up with "They told me you'd be here. And you're going to publish my book." There was a cartoon out a while back where somebody was abducted and they're taking him back, and they say to him, "Now when you write about us, and you will write about us." I love that cartoon. But we never looked. They found us from Australia. They just found us. Amazing. Not so amazing, really.
These are some of the books that we published of Ida's information. Each one of them just totally blew you away. And in the process of working with her and going to these meetings with her on a periodic basis, at one point she said that there's a speaker in Portland. We were outside of Portland, Oregon at the time. There's a speaker down there at the university, and you need to go hear the person. And it's kind of like what Pam was saying, you will. So we went to see him, and this is him, Dr. James Deardorff. And he was working on some research that he had been doing for years and years. He had come across a manuscript, not originally, but only available in German, called the Talmud of Emmanuel. And it purported to be a more original version of the book of Matthew than what we've been handed down through the translations from Aramaic into Greek and English and all the rest of that. And he had spent years and years logically working with this stuff. And he basically had as airtight a case for the authenticity of this as you can imagine. But he couldn't find a publisher on earth that would stand up and say, "Yeah, let the Christians fire at me. I'll take that book." No, they said, no, we got other things. We got sex and violence, stuff that makes money. We don't want this. Okay, so when he found out that we were publishers, of course, and we're kind of stupid or naive or brave or something, we started working with his book, which was Celestial Teachings. And when it came out and people started reading that, there then came a demand to actually bring this manuscript out of what was then German into the English-speaking world. So we worked with Billy Meyer, and that's him there, for a number of years, went back and forth on translating every little nuance and every word, and it went on and on. I mean, it was an amazing and deep process. We finally brought it out. His story, Billy Meyer, is that he was contacted by this Pleiadean woman here, apparently 132 or more times between 1976 and 1982. And then they backed off for a while. But he put out volumes of his contact information with her. And of course, his pictures were like the one you see there. Therefore, they are hoaxes. Real UFO pictures are always black and white, and they're out of focus. You can't tell what it is, and they're far away. This is not it. This is not a real photo. You know, can't deal with this. This is too much like you were actually there and took the picture. You know. So he was, and there was. It goes on. We don't have to go into all that, but we worked with him. Finally came out with that. But the the curious theme here was that he was being contacted by Pleiadeans, and Pam was contacted by Pleiadeans.
Well, it was working with him too. I thought, that's like the ship I saw.
Yeah.
That's exactly like what I saw.
Yeah. So again, it's that Pleiadian theme that is going through some of our history here.
Is anybody familiar, some of you will be familiar with this song, A Spaceman Came Traveling?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's our favorite Christmas tune.
Yes, you pretty much was.
Yeah, there's the
It's not
celestial
Terry's,
teachings.
but he played it. It's a South American man.
Yeah. Yeah, we already covered that. So just a little bit about the Pleiadians and so on. The star formation, which we usually think of as having 7 stars in it, actually has a lot more than that. But they're in Taurus, maybe 450 light years away. A light year is the distance that it takes light a year to travel. So if you tried to get there, it'd be hard for us. And the scientists guess that we're alone in the universe because nobody that lives as short a life as we do could ever get from there to here using the kind of technology we know about. Therefore, we're alone in the universe. And it's kind of stupid to think like that. But that is the standard position on how there could be nobody from the Pleiades here.
Oh, I forgot one thing here. If
Okay.
any of you don't know Billy Meyer, he only had one arm. So he was taking pictures with one arm. And the tree is actually reflected in the ship there. I don't think you mentioned that.
No, you can see the dark reflection on the back of the craft. This was prior to Photoshop and stuff. You know, this
Right.
was
A while
this was hard
back.
to do. So just a few words here. Again, we could spend a long time on this sort of thing. The scientific view of reality, we have to set down a few understandings as to how it is that the Pleiadians and such people could actually come here. These two guys, Michelson and Morley, in 1907, got tired of people talking about the existence of things like ether, spelled A-E-T-H-E-R. And they said that's nonsense. So they set up an experiment which was really badly designed, and they got no evidence, and they concluded from that, didn't see anything, can't exist, which again was kind of stupid, okay? But science was really interested in just sealing off this whole, hi, come on in, Karen. Science was very interested in just closing the door on things like ether, because then they could say, well, everything that's important is observable in the lab. And that's where we live, that's our stuff, this is the only reality that exists. And yeah. Okay. There's a more balanced view of reality that we are all familiar with. We hear it many times, body, mind, and spirit, the different aspects of reality that we work with. And moving a little bit further from the body, mind, spirit into the realms of existence, parallel universes, if you would. We live in the physical realm, and that's the one we normally work with, but there's also a realm of consciousness and a realm of soul. And these are ones that were excluded by science back in 1907, but are as real as the one that we think we live in here. So one of the things that happens there is manifestation, where the part of us that lives in the realm of consciousness can create very specific ideas, energize it with our emotions, and it manifests in the physical realm. That whole process is not provable in the science lab. Next. Reincarnation is another one. We know that we are spiritual beings that are living in the physical realm for a short period of time, and when that's over, we go back into the spiritual realm and back and forth. And reincarnation is part of almost every ancient spiritual tradition on Earth, but it's not in the science lab either. So what about space travel? How can they be here? People from anywhere can be here because of this process. You start somewhere in the physical realm, and then knowing how to do this, and the advanced civilizations know how to do this, you go into the realm of consciousness. In the realm of consciousness, you imagine, if you're from the Pleiades and over there, go into the consciousness realm, imagine being at Earth, and oh, there's Earth, and you pop back out into the physical realm, and there's no rocket fuel or anything. I mean, it's just boom, boom. Once you understand that, and going over time is the same thing. You can go forward and backward in time, anywhere you want to in the physical realm. So space travel is not limited by the speed limits that Einstein put on there, or any of these other kinds of things. We're going to die before we get there kind of limits. I mean, those are not there. They're irrelevant. So there's no reason why advanced races cannot be here. If they want to be here, they can be here. I think what they have learned is that we're dangerous folks. And we shoot at things we don't understand. And we've always done this. Go out and, kill elephants and all that kind of stuff. So one day when we were doing this publishing, it got kind of out of hand. We needed some help.
So I wasn't in tune with my board of directors as much back then as I did later on in life. I call them my board of directors because when I go journey, there's a lot of different types of ETs that meet me. And our authors always said, you're covered. They're all, whether they're good or bad or whatever, they're all with you. So you're protected. And, I don't know that, but the thing I do know is that I have seen different types. But I still, at this point, really wasn't sure who we were working with. And obviously, it's still not cut in stone. It's not like they walk in and we sit around a table. It's all, in a journey mode. But there was a time early on where, it was rough. I was pretty much doing it by myself, and we were trying to market, and I didn't know how, and I didn't have the time, and so I was whining and crying that I needed help, and it was a pretty bad day. So Brian gets home from work, and he says, okay, let's go to a movie or something, and, just forget it. And so, okay, and then for some reason we said, no, let's just stay here. Let's just walk around our property, and then come back and eat and settle down. So that's what we did. And we were back in the house about 2 minutes when this woman, Chrisana, called. And we had met her maybe a few months before at a conference. Briefly, we knew of her, she knew us, but we didn't really know her. So she calls, and Brian's on the phone with her for about a minute or two, and I hear him say, do you do marketing? I just rolled my eyes, because she said, well, I woke up today, or sometime today, the Pleiadeans told me, you have to call Wildflower Press. Why? Because they need help. They need marketing help. She said, I don't market, you can do this. Call Wildflower Press. So she called, and we weren't home, and she said, they're not home. And they said, they'll be back in 15 minutes, call back. We both went, oh my God. Space travel? No, where are they? Are they right here? Are they filling up the back row? I mean, are they just in another dimension and can see over? I mean, that's not the only time where you felt, no, they know what we're doing. They know what we're doing, and which I'll get further with the crop circles. But they'll be back in 15 minutes? And that's exactly how long it was. So, forget the space travel. And until people open up to this, that they're here, it's multidimensional. I mean, the people, ETs have always said they will not allow nuclear weapons to go off because there are worlds within worlds, we were told, and we're hurting people. They're right here.
So, travel is possible in Seems to be something that a lot of these advanced beings do. This is a representative Pleiadean woman. Their agenda seems to be to guide and heal us. They could live as long as 3,000 Earth years, but again, take all of this information with a grain of salt, because we can't put a footnote on there that references the ET department at MIT. We don't do that kind of stuff. So all of this comes from interface, people interacting with others. Some of their characteristics: they're humanoid, that is, their head, arms, legs, their white, smooth skin. Their home planet is called Era. It has a population of about 400,000. They're telepathic. They control their health with their minds, forget about diets and pills. Their average age, if we took one, might be about 700 Earth years. They travel here in about 7 hours in beam ships, we are told. They have no currency. They share all their resources. The material goods are given freely to anyone who needs them based on the recipient's societal contribution. So if you're hungry, do something useful. Here's your food. Okay? No money. Children are taught for the first 10 years to understand their life's purpose. That's the first thing you do with a kid.
We heard that through Ida's contact too. Every child gets one-on-one, and they find out who you are, what is your purpose in life. There's no group teaching. And that wasn't Pleiadian, that was another ET system.
Well, our teachers control, so.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
theirs isn't, so.
Right.
So they get trained for 60 or 70 years after that in various occupations, and then they go on with their lives. You may have a Pleiadian mission if you're here tonight, and it is: you are needed. You have been in training for this assignment for lifetimes, and you did not come unprepared. All that you need to know now is inside of you. So that's us, and that's our joint mission. So welcome aboard. Of course, you've been on board for a long time. So going back, as we go on for some years after this, August 11th, 2001, a month before the 9/11 events, it rained all night, and this formation was not in the field the previous day. In the morning, when the clouds cleared, there was 409 perfect circles, mathematically, absolutely perfectly placed in some mathematical form. There was 1,000 feet across, and the stalks were melted, not broken. Had to be an energetic process of some kind. It's not scientifically explainable. They've taken things like this to engineers, and they say, let's say $10 million in 6 months, we can get that done. How about you do it overnight, in the dark, in the rain? Well, you get any other projects. We don't know how to do this stuff. So we intuited at that point that this was an energetic thing, some kind of subtle energy doing this, and that water should be able to absorb that. And even though we didn't know what to do with it at that time, we felt we should start. And when these formations would occur, at least absorb the water and label it and organize it in some way, and we started doing that. This is Satya Alcorn. Some of you may remember her being here in the Namaste community some years ago. And at about this time, a few years back, we had, you remember her?
Yeah.
When we were at one of the other locations here, we had a craft fair sort of thing. And I brought some of the essences, we put them out on a table and so on, and at one point she had something she was vending on the other side, and she came like an arrow over there, and she came over there and said, "That one, I've got to have it, that one." And she wouldn't let go of it. And it was called the point of intersection. So she took it home, and as you do with these essences, you sit with it, it becomes your friend, you listen to your intuition, you do whatever it draws you to do. And pretty soon she started making things like this diamond that you see here.
Well, first she was led to take apart all of her beaded jewelry.
Yes.
And she put it back into a wire frame like that. It was about this big. And she put it all back together in a design. And it was a real process for her of letting go. And it was just a major process. And then she was led to make these smaller ones. And I may have left that in the car, but
Yeah, it is probably out in the car, the actual,
Yeah.
this one here.
But
But I
she-
do want to draw your attention, excuse me, to these clear globes. There's 2 of them in each of the quadrants. You see those?
when she made this without those initially. And when she put those in, she said immediately she knew it was for us. And so she invited us up, and it was about a week before we went to England to go to the crop circles. And she said, you know, this is for you. And as soon as I looked at it, I said, this has to be the design that we're going to ask for in a crop circle. Because we were told, you know, we're going to all ask for a crop circle design. And I just knew it right away. And so I took it over, and there was 18 of us, and we meditated on that design, and they all said, yes, let's do that. And we were over there for the first night. We were actually in Wiltshire County. This first one on the left was laid down. And you can see it even has the 2 little balls between the 4 big circles. The one thing we asked, the main thing we asked for, was to have an equilateral diamond. You can do anything else you want, but if we have an equilateral diamond, we'll know that you heard us.
With a cross.
And we got, with a cross, and we got those 3, and right in a row.
That third one, the one on your right there, you'll see just a little dark spot there. That's the farmer and his combine first thing in the morning,
Yeah, we never got in that one.
undoing the devil's work.
So this one we did get into. There were 18 of us. It had 18 components to it, and it sure looked a lot like our design. It sure did. It's highly energetic. It was amazing. And the day this one, the morning after this one came down, or the morning that we found out it was out there, I woke up and this clear communication came through. This is contact. This is communication. This is connection. And I went. And his sister right after that came running up the steps. We have our crop circle! We have our crop circle! And we did. Now the second one that showed in the middle there, the diamond, these are close-ups of it. And you can see, I want you to see these because some stalks are going this way, some stalks are going that way, some stalks are underneath, some are then laid up on top. And all of that is making that, and I'll show you another one. This is coming in from the left. These are, some are going this way, some are going that way. There's no way. There's no way you can do that as a human being with hard wheat.
The word two-mass is what came through the reading of this formation through the Akashic Records when we made an essence from it. I'm not sure what it refers to, but that's what we were given as the name of it.
And as you see from the air, all of that twisting and bending and layers are making this three-dimensional design and adding all this depth to it. They know exactly what they want to do before they do it. I really believe, if any of you heard us speak before, and they're always in monocultures, so I really believe their thoughts program the DNA in the wheat. They have the design, it lays down almost instantly. I think that's the most logical thing you could come up with. And we are not at all unique in sending out a message and having an answer. It goes on all the time, all the time. A Mayan elder showed up, and the day he showed up, there was an ancient Mayan symbol in the, was wheat. Mm-hmm. There's Michael Glickman, who has studied crop circles for years, was coming back from LA one day, and he had studied for years and many, many crop circles. His epiphany was when he walked in the first crop circle that had a 90-degree angle. And he said, just blew him away. I mean, all of the stalks at the 90-degree angle went in like that and made a perfect turn. So he's coming home from LA one day and he's thinking, I wonder if they ever do square circles. So he gets home, square circles. So he gets home and he finds out, yeah, there's a square one about a mile down from my house. So they're communicating all the time. Again, just like we were saying, you know, where are they? I don't know where they are, but they're close enough to be hearing us all the time.
If the Pleiadeans are telepathic, I think we can reason that we should be careful with our thoughts.
Yeah, but they're pretty patient too. They're really loving and patient. Yeah. Yeah, so it was all these experiences, and especially that day with Prasanna calling, that I finally went, I think I definitely have a Pleiadian connection. But it took a while for me to accept that. And there are others. It's not just them by any stretch of the imagination, which I'll talk about down the road. But I think it's probably good to be skeptical.
Yeah.
You know, I'd always said, as much as it went on with her, she always said I'd take everything with a grain of salt. And I've never forgotten that. And because you just never know. I mean, you just don't. And I think the most important thing is to feel what the energy that's coming at you.
Yeah.
It can be the most beautiful looking being in the world, and if it doesn't feel right, tell it to go away. Because, you know, being human, we have this tendency to like pretty. And something that's not so pretty can be the most loving thing out there. So we want to move into our, yes, let's move into
Yeah.
our meditation.
Okay,
So we want you to meditate with this.
okay.
Did everybody get a drop of 2 Mass?
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I didn't get a drop.
oh, you didn't? It was,
I just held it.
so 2 Mass,
That's okay.
you could make sure everybody
Do
got
whatever
it,
you wanna do
Brian. 2 Mass, what came down across from Stonehenge. This is where this was. This hill rises a little, so you can see it from Stonehenge, which is wonderful because this field gets a lot of crop circles. And one day, a pilot was flying over that field, was gone for about 20 minutes, and came back, and that was a Julia set, came down right across from Stonehenge. And you remember the Julia set, the curve? And people are walking around Stonehenge in broad daylight. It's quite amazing.
Well, when was that?
That would have been, that was one of the earlier ones that started getting really complex.
Well, I remember Roswell, and I also remember.
Not that early.
No.
No.
This was in '54. I read
No, this
Georgia-
would have,
I read Flying Saucers Have Landed by Georgia Dansky, and I always remember it right.
no, this would have been when crop circles started, because for a while they were strictly circles.
When did they start?
Good question. 80s? So Julia's set might have been early 90s, mid 90s. Early 90s, mid 90s. I don't remember. But what we want you to do now is take that picture. Yeah.
Oh, this one.
And either hold your hands, do whatever feels right to you, put it under your feet. The directions that came with it were to stand on it, but the music's going to be pretty long. So we're figuring you're going to want to sit. So put your hands on it, put it under your feet, and think about what you'd like to meditate. What would you like to manifest? And we'll dim the lights for this.
There's nothing happening.
So how do you do that? I would like to light whatever you want. So,
What do you want to happen, Karen?
what I want to have.